Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is September 15, 2023, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the US dollar trading higher almost across the board. But first, looking at today's major economic events. So we start the day at 4:30 South African time. Out of the United States, we have an Empire State Manufacturing Index number coming out, and then that's followed with 4 p.m. South African time. From the United States, also U of M consumer sentiment number coming out. Now looking at the various markets, starting out with the Forex symbols, the US dollar getting stronger, and that means also all the other pairs are getting weaker. So the British pound actually breaking that 200-day moving average. Looking at the indices, the Dow Jones surges higher, and so does the NASDAQ, pushing higher as well. Now looking at the commodities, gold makes a bounce, while oil makes new highs. Now looking at the stocks, specifically JP Morgan had a gap up and go. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin gets a spike. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're going to start with the Euro USD first and work backwards to the British pound. So we're looking at the USD breaking the euro further down, okay? 106.57, we were at 107-ish level the other day and just above 107. So it's about, let's say, a 50 to 60 pip move on the downside. Not a big deal, but significant enough for it to be considered breaking its support. Now looking at a weekly chart, that becomes much more meaningful because number one, we use that 200-day moving average as a resistance, and we've broken our 30-day and 8-day, and it looks like the 8-day, the red line, or the 30-day, excuse me, is breaking over the blue line, okay? And you can see historically, when that happens, it's very important. So we're just at that brink of breaking that crossover with the moving averages, and that means this is a bona fide downwards move, and we could see further selling off, okay? Now looking at the GBP, look at that. We're breaking the 200-day moving average, as you can see here at 124, and if it does continue, 123 is our next support level, so just be aware of that. Now the other major pairs didn't really do that much, okay, so I'm not going to cover them. But jumping into commodities, looking at gold specifically bouncing here to 1916 after hitting 1900. Now this has been in a really tight range. You can see here it's just really flatlining altogether. However, crude oil remains very strong, pushing higher yesterday to $90 a barrel. That's very important as this has been in the $65 for a while and then breaking above here. Now we are hitting resistance-ish area, so be aware of that. $92 is resistance, so keep that in mind. Now jumping into the US market, starting out with Dow Jones. Dow Jones was the one that got the real big boost up, and that was the surge of about 300 points to 35,300, while the NASDAQ pushed higher, but not that much, okay? So what was the factors pushing the markets up? JP Morgan specifically had a gap up and go, from 146 up to 149. That's a pretty decent move for one day of trading, as that has gotten stronger. Now, looking at Apple, I bounced off of our supportish area, so this hasn't broken down, okay? So there's some still light at the end of the tunnel for Apple. If we look at some of the others, Facebook also pushed higher, okay? If you look at Microsoft, also pushed a little bit higher, okay, even though it was down during the day. But in the morning time, it was up and did gap up and closed up higher than when it first initially opened. So that was a big deal. And another U.S. stock, another Dow Jones stock is ALCOA pushing higher as well. So there is some rotation in the markets, as we see here, going from certain high-tech stocks to going to old-school kind of stocks, and there's market rotation in terms of shedding out some money in all directions, which means that the market may still move higher as after it's corrected itself. Now looking into Bitcoin lastly, got a little bit of a spike there to 26,582. Nothing really big, but it's making a correction, okay? It's making a little bit of a correction on the upside. Again, it's really in a very tight range and very difficult to trade because it's just so, spiky, okay, if you call it that, or just call it just trading in a very tight range, and then all of a sudden it moves. So that's really hard to anticipate when there's money. It just shows you that there's not a lot of money being flowed in or flowed out of Bitcoin, and this is the expression of it. when you're having this really dull moment of markets and then a spike every so often. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish everybody a great trading day and a beautiful weekend. Thank you.